Streamed. Got it.
We're on.
Okay. Okay, let me press the button. Got it.
Now,
hi, Mari.
Hello. Hi, Denise. How you doing?
Good. It's not that I didn't want to friend you. It's just that I don't keep up with it. So after I get off, I'm going to update it.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
It's not like I didn't want to play jump rope in the schoolyard with you. Or
no, anything. It's totally fine. I figured you probably weren't on there that much. I'm excited for you to be on.
Oh, me too. Thank you for asking me. I just love this.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be great. So are you going to be doing readings on?
Well, I'll be talking about the Mars Retrograde, and I'm open to questions. Absolutely. Okay. If somebody, I don't want to get too much into a detailed chart analysis, like if, oh my
sure.
goodness, biquintile Mars on December 17th, and it's being conjunct with the moon. Like I can't really do that kind of reading today, but
sure.
Any questions, absolutely, bring them on. Some people on my end should be coming. I don't know if they're just going into the chat room, how that works with you. If there are questions also being asked while we're live streaming, does that happen?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes okay. There are definitely questions. I don't see any right now. I'm just going to check my Facebook to see if we're on there. Oh, awesome. Good job. It's on there. Thank you. So yeah, I think people can ask questions in the chat, on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever they want.
Great.
The chat. Just shutting that off.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hey everyone. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty, so I just shared from Mari, so hopefully they can see it on my Facebook page. Because for some reason Facebook is acting up and wouldn't let us share from both of our pages. So
okay. Do you want me to share it to yours, Winter? Is it on
yours? We did that already. We did that. So awesome. We'll have to figure that out after the show. Technical issues. I gotta tell you. You would think just that, going through the turns and curves of physical life and bringing in those on the other side would be enough, but now we have to master technological issues. So, but welcome everybody. It's November 30th, and we have our delightful medium Mari with us. I know I can't pronounce her name, even though we've been friends for years. I'm Winter Brook, and we have Denise Jordan joining us today. But let me start by having Mari introduce herself and let you guys know a little bit about what she does.
Hey guys, it's Mari Cartagenova. Winter, no worries. Half the people in my family can't even say my last name, so that's why I go by Medium Mari. It's a little easier. Yes, I'm Medium Mari, psychic medium, animal communicator, and so excited to be with you, Winter, and our special guest Denise today. I'm so excited. I love astrology, so can't wait to get into it. I do, as Winter was saying, I do mediumship, intuitive psychic readings. I work with animals here or crossed over, give them readings. And I also started doing like past life readings and what I'm referring to as like hidden memories, things that may have happened during this lifetime that you are a little fuzzy about. Like if you sort of feel weird whenever you go to someone's house, or you remember there was a party and there was some tension, but you don't remember exactly what happened. I'm starting to do those readings as well. And love doing spirit chat with my friend Winter, and so excited to have such an amazing guest with us today. So thanks for joining.
And hello, everyone, as you're still tuning in. Just to let you know a little bit about me. I am also a psychic medium. I bring through those that have crossed to the other side. I am an animal communicator. I do readings on those incarnate, as the technical term, those or physical, and those that have crossed over. I also work with trance, and I sit for physical mediumship. So I'm going to ask everybody in our just going to mute everybody who's joining us in the Zoom room, except for our guest. And both Mari and I are also selling gift certificates. If you guys want to give a loving gift to one of your friends or families, we offer those as well. Today's chat is going to be about Mars retrograde. And the one thing I'm not is an astrologer, even though Facebook titles me that. And but we have is a very qualified astrologer, tarot card reader, social worker, therapist, and her name is Denise Marie Jordan. I've known Denise for a few years now, and she's actually come to a couple of my classes. I was privileged to sit in on one of her lectures at the Eyes of Learning with the history of the tarot, and she just kind of blown me away with all the information that she has. And today she's going to talk to us about a specific aspect in astrology and its effect on us as it is ongoing now, and it will continue. She explained to me it's Mars retrograde, and of course we should probably have some time. Maybe we could get little readings here and there, or if our people have some questions, Denise might entertain those. But let me turn it over to Denise and let them, if I didn't describe well enough, if I've omitted one of your practice areas, please fill that in.
Oh, no, Winter, you covered all exits. That was great. I was like, oh, and who's she talking about? That was great. You got everything. I just would like to add to that I love what I do. This is really what I have a passion for, is helping people working astrologically, working psycho-spiritually and therapeutically to help people live up to their potential, or to bring some sort of understanding in terms of what's going in their on in their lives, so that they can have some comfort and make better choices. Because remember, astrologically, whatever's going on in the sky, it's about how we meet the situation or how we meet the circumstance. So anyway, if I can begin, what I'm going to be talking today about, once again, is the Mars retrograde. I'm going to go into some detail for each sign. So if you know what your sun sign is, meaning you're an Aries, a Gemini, or your ascendant, I'm going to give you a little bit of a snapshot of what you can expect with this Mars retrograde and how to navigate it. But what I'd like to do is start with the history of astrology, so we have some background and understanding of, you know, what this is. What does Mars mean? What was Mars mythologically, and what's his purpose in our lives and in our charts? Also to open to any question. So let me start by saying this. Astrology does not work. Astrology does not work if you believe the planets cause things to happen. Years ago, astrology is credited by being really built and founded by the ancient Babylonians. What they noticed was that at certain times in their civilization, there would be the red planet Mars, very prominent in the sky. And there were more wars during that time. People were more agitated or aggravated. They also, too, looked at the celestial positioning of all the planets to see when the rivers were rising so they could plant their crops. Weather patterns, as I said, also, too, when a good time would be to go to war. what they thought was that these planets and their movements and noticing certain correspondence was that these were the gods talking to them. These were gods in the sky telling them, here's a time to pick an heir to the throne. Oh, look what happened before. Go plant your crops. So they started to see a recurrence of themes, and this dialogue between the planets and their lives began. Now, because they were more superstitious at that time, astrology was more faded. But one thing about it was the kings and the queens and the emperors relied heavily on astrology to pick an heir to their throne, because at this time, civilization needed to continue. People died younger, and what they did was they looked and decided upon someone's chart who would be able to carry out the lineage. So about 4 BC, Alexander came in, Alexander the Great, and he conquered a lot of these civilizations. And what he brought with him was Greek mythology. And that's really when astrology and the planets and the stories and what your sign means began to develop, because a story was introduced, and we gave certain little narratives to all of the planets. So basically, astrology has always been used to bring apparent chaos, order out of chaos. That's what it is. We look to the sky, we see something going on, it's a full moon. How can we best navigate this? Oh, look at our chart. Something's going on here. Okay, what can I expect? How can I best work with this? And how can I get the most potential out of this transitory time? So anyway, years and years later, I guess it would be like about the 1920s, psychology and psychiatry was introduced to the West. And there was Carl Jung, who was a student of Freud at that time. And he broke away from Freud because he started to notice that not only was behavior measurable, but also there seemed to be some sort of correspondence in terms of, oh, gee, here's a full moon. This person's neurosis, that's what they called it back then, seems to be more triggered. Also, too, he came up with this theory of the collective unconscious, meaning that we're all connected. All of us are connected. We're not separate little satellites, but rather we're all joined together. And what is affecting us is affecting the collective. He also came up with this belief or theory of, he called it synchronicity, meaning, and this is what astrology is based on, that when something is going on outside of ourselves, whether it be, I keep having an argument with my neighbor, it is reflective of something going on internally. And again, this theme of correspondence, this reinforcement that there's a pattern outside of ourselves that can give us wisdom, understanding to what's going on internally. And what I want to say is that we're never really, really stuck. We're constantly evolving. There's an evolution of aspects of ourselves. Sometimes it feels difficult. So we go to an astrologer to help us understand how to work through the difficulty. And I do want to stop and say here that even when we're going through difficult times and we're seeing it astrologically, it is not punishment. The planets are not causing anything. They're bringing to our attention an evolution within us where we can no longer go forward in the same way. So it's kind of like nails on a blackboard. It keeps getting our attention. It's showing up here, it's showing up there. And I'm talking about Mars Retrograde today, which can be one of the more interesting and also too irritating aspects. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. If this is not making sense, please feel free to ask me a question. I have a lot of patience. I'll say it this way, that way, until everybody kind of gets what I'm looking at.
You're doing great. I'm looking at the feedback that I have from our attendees, and they all love it. I'm loving it. The only thing I would add is that some of those challenges you referenced, I feel are set up by our soul plan as well.
Absolutely.
For growth, because sometimes the most growth happens against most adversity. So
Absolutely. It's our soul contract. And don't forget, I am not an evolutionary astrologer. I just want to say that, but there are
we don't even know what an evolutionary astrologer is, sweetheart.
Oh, okay. Well, here's a time to evolve. An evolutionary astrologer is someone that also can talk about the evolution of one's soul and past life. And without getting too technical, we look to the nodes in the chart, the nodes of the moon, they're called, to see and try to understand the unresolved trauma that has, or unresolved feelings due to some sort of trauma in a previous life that still has an emotional impact on the soul in this present day. That's how it's done. And again, for growth, not for punishment, but for insight. I don't know if you can truly, I think you would have to go to someone like yourself or Mari to really nail down maybe the particular lifetime, but what you'll see is the resonance of the impact of that situation that is affecting. Now, again, just to go a little bit back, take a step back in terms of soul contract. Remember, before we're coming in, we're having a bird's eye view of what's going to be the best setup. What's going to be the best situation? What's going to be the best, if you want to call them trials and tribulations, that's going to squeeze our evolution, that's going to help us meet our soul's potential. And that being said, I don't know if it's, a bunch of our guides are sitting with us, we're having a cup of coffee and say, yeah, you know what, you'd be a good child of Joe and Mary. I don't know if it works that way, but don't forget, planets are always moving. They have an energetic resonance. There is some magnetic feel. I mean, we could all feel when there's a full moon, right? We all kind of get that sense, or even if you don't know astrology, Mercury retrograde, you can feel, oh, something's a little off. It's a little catchy, right?
Full moon, walk through a labor department in any hospital you want.
Thank you.
Not a bed available.
Thank you. Thank you. And police officers put more patrol cars on during a full moon because more bizarre crimes are committed at that time. That's what my father used to tell my mother. That's what she told me. Yeah. So what I want to say is, so there's some sense of, when we're talking about a soul contract, there's a feel, or there must be a gravitational pull of the soul energetically to be born at a certain time because of the planetary alignment. And when we look at the planets in the chart, that's when we see the blueprint of our soul, or our soul's potential, or of why we chose to come in and what needs to be worked out and worked through. And then at certain time periods, like the Mars retrograde, what is it really doing? It's triggering or alerting us or making us aware of this growth period. And it's not always easy. So, a brief rundown on evolutionary astrology, that's kind of how it works. The planets don't cause anything, but they bring to awareness. They're awakening or alerting us, tapping at that door. Okay, here's an aspect of yourself. And in this case, it's Mars, our energy, drive, get up and go, and ambition. We got to look at this here. It's going retrograde. So we spoke about synchronicity. So we understand that there's really nothing outside of ourselves. Even if we look to the world at large and we see what's going on, we can somehow track that there's a retrograde during this time. So let me go a little bit into Greek mythology. This is always fun. Let's talk about Mars, his reputation. Well, Mars, according to the Greeks, he was called Aries. They know him as Aries, but I'm going to call him at Mars. He was one of the 12 Olympians, right? And his father was Zeus, king of the gods, and his mother was Hera. Now, Zeus had this habit of running around. He had a lot of women, a lot of goddesses. He was a gigolo. I don't know if they called them then, if they called them that, but he was a gigolo. He had a lot of women and he was always having this child and that child. One time, Hera said, enough, I've had it. I'm going to have a child on my own. So what she did was she had Mars. She gave birth to him without a father, without a male seed. And when he was born, because he embodied the strife of her relationship with her husband due to her husband's infidelity, he does carry this angry, warlike spirit. So that's where Mars traditionally gets this reputation of being fighting, forceful. His father, Zeus, never fully approved of his son, Mars, never did, because he didn't participate in it. He wasn't part of this. And there was always this innate competition between father and son. So again, we're talking about Mars today. We're talking about Mars cycle. We're going to be talking about this competitiveness. And as an aside, when we look at the Aries male, right, any men born under the sign of Aries, just the sun sign. So I'm just taking one little aspect. It's not uncommon to see this theme carried out with the Aries male, Mars male, with other men in their lives, with their father. There's this, again, they reenact this Greek myth where there's a competition between father and son, or the other males in their lives, the bosses. Okay, so here we're building a little bit of a case here. So if anybody knows any males, and the males could be, yes, oh, you do.
Now, how about, does this also relate equally to animals, pets?
Well, yeah, I mean, look at that.
Because
personality, yes.
You and I were speaking, I foster kittens, and I was a foster fail this last time around. I chose to keep one kitten, and I was looking for a home. I'd even asked you to take the kitten, and you couldn't.
She did.
And he happened to be born on March 31st, and my daughter ended up wanting to keep him. And that's Ari's, you told me just before we started broadcasting. I know this is the dog, not the cat, but he's feisty. He picks fights with the Pomeranian. He picks fights with the Bengal cat, and then also plays with her. But he likes to pick a little fight, this guy. I mean, not like, bloody fights, but yeah.
The nature of Mars. That's the nature of Aries. And it needs to be expressed. I want to say something else here that, all of us, the aspect of Mars, think of Mars. This is the Mars within us, really what we're talking about right now at this time during the retrograde. We're all being asked to look to see how we assert ourselves, how we fight, what gets us up and going, because there's been an evolution. I just want to go back a little bit to say that Mars does rule the sign of Aries and Scorpio, it co-rules Scorpio. Pluto has been assigned to Scorpio since 1931. So it takes on a little bit of a different flavor, but Mars does rule the sign of Scorpio. And what's interesting is that when we're born, Mars takes about 2 years to go around the sun. So we're 2 years old. So Mars goes around once. It takes 2 years. When it goes finally around the sun once, comes back to where it was when we were born, we're 2 years old. And I'm looking at Mari right now. Remember in theories of behavior and the terrible twos and Freud's theory of personality, the anal stage. What does that signify? It's the time when the child, the terrible twos, we're rebellious, we're rambunctious, it's a me first attitude, and we're individuating. So that's Mars. And again, during this time,
my daughter nailed that one.
Oh, okay. Okay, we should walk her on now.
No, now she's not. She didn't evolve. She evolved.
Oh, good. Well,
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
No, that's a perfect comment, because this is it. We want to evolve. We want to see what our Mars is. We want to take a look during this time, especially when we go into the sun sign and see our sun signs and see what it's asking of us. We need to evolve this Mars. We need to recognize it. And what I do want to say, I know, here in the West, I don't know if it's supported to express anger in a healthy way? I really don't know. We say, yes, we're aggressive, we're assertive, but I have to really wonder, especially when we look at women, do women express their Mars? Is this something that's encouraged? So now is the time that we're taking a look at it. So we're 2 years old. Mars is exactly where it was the moment we were born. It's returned to that place. We call it a Mars return. And this is, I stamp the foot. And you'll see with people that have not been able to really individuate properly or use their Mars energy, like assert themselves in a healthy way, they're still acting out all over the place. I used to work with someone, I worked with the boss's son, and he would close his door and he would always have these temper tantrums. Everything would go flying across the room. And I would joke around and say, I'm working for a 32-year-old toddler. I mean, it never came to a head. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. So a description of Mars, what does it represent? We all have a Mars, guys. We all need to use it. We need to recognize it and not to push it down. That's the worst thing. It's such a fiery aspect of ourselves that when it does get pushed down, that's when we have the explosions, okay? When our Mars is not expressed in a healthy way, we have the bully. We also have the victim. Okay, the victim is somebody that gives away their Mars energy and allows other people to get angry with them, to bully them. So it works both ways here. It's the passive aggressive. So that's
exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to add, Denise. I was just thinking it's the passive aggressive narcissist that's like, oh, I didn't do anything. This wasn't my fault. And then everybody else gets mad at them because they're not really able to express their own anger and their own feelings. So they make everybody else express it for them. So yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I agree so far with everything you're saying. It's definitely 100%. So if you have those people in your life that don't express their own anger, but make you feel angry all the time, that's sort of the different side of the same coin, as if you will.
Thank you. No, please interrupt. And you could feel it also too with a Mars. You're with a group of people and you turn around like, why am I so annoyed with this person? I just can't put my finger on it. Or if you're in a therapy room, you're counseling someone and they walk in and it's like,
I agree.
Fine.
Sorry. Oh, should I have raised my hand?
Oh, no, talk. Go ahead. We're talking about Mars. You can interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry, but I agree with you. That's all I need to say.
Oh, about the, which part of it? Which part? About walking into a room and then you find you're right and you don't know why, but it's because it's there. It's churning within them. And don't forget, we pick up energetically too. I mean, there are really no secrets, right? Jung said it's a collective unconscious. We're all connected some way, whether it's spoken or it's not spoken. And, I think it's about like 80% of our communication is nonverbal and it's energetic also. So thank you. I'm glad this makes sense. So now with Mars retrograde, this is what's your name? What's your name?
Sorry, I'm not used to Zoom, but Erica.
Erica. All right. So Erica, now, if this is happening now, specifically during the Mars retrograde, and I'm going to get into the sign, please be aware of it. Take a step back, take a deep breath, see what's being triggered within you. And the other thing is, before you respond, don't doubt yourself. Do not doubt yourself with this if you're around this person. And also, too, it might just be asking you to set a boundary with this person. I mean, leaving the room, cutting the conversation short. So I just want to confirm what you're saying. And that's one of the tools you can use when you're engaged with someone that has a Mars that they're not owning. Okay, makes sense, everybody? We got it. And especially during Mars retrograde, guys, we're going to be a little more triggered. Remember, we're being asked to look at our own Mars, our own aggression, assertion, anger, the impetus, what drives us. So we can be, once again, more easily triggered. We need to take a look at it. Now's a great time because you'll get a lot of insight. So thank you, Erica, for bringing that up. The other thing I want to say about Mars too, it's our libido. It is the fire within us. It's what drives us, what gets us up in the morning, what motivates us. And at times, if she's on full screen, is that okay?
That's just you, hon.
Oh, okay, that's just me.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't know how, forgive me, I don't know how all this technical stuff works. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I have it set at gallery.
All right, whatever. So what I want to say is, once again, so Mars, we're looking at the libido, we're looking at our sex drive also. Okay, Mars was Aries, Scorpio, our sex drive. And one of the questions we needed to ask ourselves at this time, are we avoiding intimacy by, I don't know, maybe having too much sex? Are we looking at, we're not looking at sex at all to avoid any type of closeness, to be able to participate more passionately in life? So these are some of the questions that we're bringing up. Remember, Mars is passion, and it's the ability, it gives us the ability to set boundaries. So we need to know where this energy is within us in order to be able to set a boundary, in order to be able to go forward. This is interesting. So our desires, right? The desires that light us up. It's associated with the planet, with the color red, guys, red. You know, people that are, when you get upset or whatever, and you get red-faced. Mars, in Greek mythology, he was known to have this blustery type of personality and drive his chariot, you know, and be all red-faced because he was always in a dither. So, physically, let me talk a little bit about Mars physically, and let's all check this out during this time period. Mars rules the blood, right? The red blood. It's our vitality, right? Blood. It's also to the B12 shot. The B, because if you think of the B12, it gives us the energy, right? It gives us, B12 is really, really good to take. And it's also to the muscles. The muscles, it's what strengthens us, what gives us, I guess you could say, this is not a good choice of words, but virility in some sense, right? It gives us a certain sense of strength. So again, any question about this Mars, what we're looking at today? We're all good. Anybody want to add anything? Any asides? I'm open.
There was Denise, yeah, sorry, Winter, there was a question on Facebook that was asking about sort of more a year long. I'm not sure if you're doing, you know, anything about the signs. Like this person was asking about how Pisces was going to do in 2023. So I wanted to pass that along to you.
Thank
I'm
you.
not sure if you're getting into that, but that was asked in the Facebook chat.
Yes, this is how I'm going to be working with that. It's a good question. I am going to be specifically addressing how this Mars retrograde is affecting each sign. So yes, so I'm not going to be talking about a whole forecast for Pisces, but this is going to be in effect until about mid-March. So I'm narrowing it down to the Mars and how it's going to, how the Pisces will be experiencing it. Very interesting too. Okay, so want to make sure we cover all exits here. Let me go a little bit into the profession of Mars. So it gives us another snapshot of how we can see it expressed occupationally. It's the police officer. It could be the surgeon. It's the soldier. Remember, Mars mobilizes. So yes, it is definitely the army. Okay, it's the army. Let me see, what else does it do? Soldier, the coach. Think, you know, the people, if you've ever, you know, they're, you know, when you're on a run or whatever, and they're cheering you on, they're telling you, pick up your legs, pick up your legs. That's very Mars. That's what it tells us to do. Pick up your legs, pick up your feet, go, go, go. Okay. So it is our gas tank. And once again, we know the not so good way of expressing it, and then the best way to express it. Okay. Mars retrograde means that the retrograde right now, if we look to the sky, it looks like Mars is going retrograde in the sky. It really isn't. It's just our viewpoint from the Earth, because it's moving slower than the rest of the planets. If you've ever been on a, you know, Long Island Railroad car or a subway car, and you're moving along, and then there's another car on another track that moves faster and it feels like you're going backwards. That's what retrograde motion is. The planet is not going backwards. It's just an apparent backward motion due to other planets speeding up. I want to give you the dates. So guys, if you want to write this down, if you want to make a mental note, this is important. Mars went retrograde October 30th, okay? And it's going to be going direct January 12th. However, on about September 3rd, we call it the preparation time. Even though technically Mars is not going retrograde, I want you all to take a look and think back to what theme or what story began to build around that September 3rd time, 4th time, September 5th, all the way up until the 30th, because that's what the retrograde cycle is going to be for you. So make a mental note. Mars will go direct on January 12th. That means it'll no longer be in backward motion. It'll go direct. However, until March 15th, we're going to be applying everything that we have learned during this cycle, okay? So just remind me to go back to December 7th, or let me say this right now, and then I want to talk a little bit about retrograde, what it's really tugging at for all of us. There's a full moon on December 7th. Mars, getting astrologically techie, is going to be opposing the sun. All this means is it's going to be a very heated day, December 7th. And that is going to be a time period. Full moons always bring things to light. Something will be brought to light in your life regarding this cycle. It's like, oh, that's it. Oh, yeah, I got something. Think of like a lightning bolt around that December 7th. And as I tell people, give me some elbow room. It might not be until the 8th. It might not be until the 9th. It might be December 6th. I don't know. It might be a conversation with someone. Something gets triggered and it's like, oh, there's an aha moment, right? We got that. So what can we expect during this retrograde? Well, we're going to be reassessing. We're going to be taking a step backward. Remember, we're going backward. We're looking at our desire nature. And what we're really doing is getting more introspective to see what truly motivates us. Now, Mars is in the sign of Gemini. Gemini has to do with communication. This is not a time where we're going to be able to give surfacey yeses to things like, all right, yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. No, that's when we're going to have the computer problems. That's when we're going to have more of the technical problems. That's where we're going to feel like, oh my goodness, I can't get ahead with what I want to do. My sweater is caught on the hook of, on the nail of the door, because we're getting back. Mars is retrograde, and we're getting a little more internalized to truly look at what do we want to do? What's the action we want to take? Don't forget, before Mars retrograde, we're going along. We are evolving. Guys, we're always growing, even though we feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so stopped, I'm so stuck. There's always movement, and we're learning. And many times we don't even realize or even see how much we're growing, how much we're evolving. Then we get a retrograde cycle where things get put on hold and we're asked to be a little more internalized about a certain planet, Mars, our action, our impetus, right? Our drive, our motive. And what we find is we can no longer go forward in the same worn out way we're used to doing it. And that's when we get the snafus. Okay, so even with Mercury retrograde, I am not superstitious. It doesn't mean don't go do something. It doesn't mean don't go sign the contract. Mars retrograde, it doesn't mean don't take action on a plan. We might, especially in Gemini, because Gemini is a sign of twins, you might need to do it twice. It's not to trip you up, but it's to double check and keep you in check to make sure you're going forward in how and what you've evolved to be. That's really what this is about. I know you'll go on the internet and you'll read all other stuff, but I'm telling you, the best way to work with this retrograde cycle, if you're getting stuck or you're feeling stopped, stop, take a look. You can go forward, but just make sure there's an integrity in terms of going in a direction that truly suits who you have grown to be. I cannot stress this enough. And yes, you might take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So what? So what? It's better you become aligned with who you truly are, or as they say in New Age, your authentic self, so you can go express more fully, especially after the planet goes direct. Okay, so does this make sense? I know I'm driving a point home here, but it's very important to know that this is not punishment. Our soul chose to be born at a certain time, knowing it was going to experience a certain cycle because we needed to evolve in this way. Make sense? Gabish? I'm Italian. Gabish? Yeah, yes, no. If anybody says no, please, I'm not going to yell, even though it's a Mars retrograde.
Well, wouldn't that be the reverse? Mars retrograde, your Marses ran out the cow door.
It depends on how you've been expressing it. If it's been
True.
expressive,
That's right.
So,
Yeah,
all right,
because you
so
were
but
talking
if
about
you-
all the elevated anger.
yeah,
Um,
and we need to look at that during that time. And so again, don't second guess yourself. The most important thing is that we're looking where we've been, where we have grown, and how we're going to approach the next step. Rick Levine, who's an excellent astrologer, he's been around forever. He describes this cycle as a very important time period. And he says it's like the archer, you know, before you're getting ready to take aim, but you got to pull the bow back because you have to decide where you're going to aim, and you're pulling it back, and it's getting taut. And it's getting taught. This is what the retrograde is like. We might be stopped, we might be delayed, we might be slowed down, but we're reassessing, we're moving backward, we're re-aiming. That's what it's like. So it's getting taught. There's a level of frustration. People, yeah, can be a little bit more angry, true, because you're not going forward. But that's how he describes it. We're pulling it back, we're getting ready to aim. Then once after January 12th, we can. And you know that when an arrow first is released from the bow, it's not fast, it's slow. It takes its time, and then it picks up momentum. And that momentum will pick up until March 15th. And then we'll feel more of a, you know, full throttle go ahead with what we've been preparing ourselves and aiming for. Okay, so I just want to say that I'm going to be going into the signs. So once again, what's Mars retrograde asking us to do? Gather insight. Slow down, pace yourself, make sure that where you're going is truly what you want to do. You're not doing a surfacey yes. You're really finding a better outlet for expressing this. Now, I want to say this, and I don't know if anybody's thinking of this yet, but the Mars retrograde will affect or maybe feel a little bit more intense for certain signs. Mars rules Aries and Scorpio. So if you're in Aries and Scorpio, you might feel the brunt of it because it's in the sign of Gemini and the Gemini too. So you might feel a little bit, you can feel a little bit more maybe immobilized or unmotivated because it's pinging. It's pinging. So if that happens, just say it. We got a girl and we got to take her in the audience. We got to take her in the audience here. Okay, so it's just pinging this. So just keep this in mind that that's the reason why you're just, it's like, what does it say? What does it say? There's that saying about it takes very little motion to drive a resonant circuit or something like that, that if it's already in movement, you're already attuned to it. So you're going to be more sensitized. We're getting a different approach. We're being reminded of what no longer works. Okay, that's why we're getting stopped. We're recognizing our inner alarms in terms of setting boundaries, as you know, we were talking about before, the person that comes into our lives and we're ready to kind of throttle them and they're all smiles and sweets and we know why now. So we're redefining how we're going to express our anger, our action, our get up and go, drive. And I do want to say this about one of my clients. Another retrograde cycle, I had a client, he was a big business person, and he was a little bit stuck and stagnant, but he was moving forward because he had a new project. And he had like about 4 weeks more of the retrograde cycle. And for him, it was falling into the 9th house, which has to do with marketing. And what he told me was part of the reason why he wasn't being able to go ahead with his business idea was he was still in the process of trying to find the right client to market to. So he was being pulled back. He was, renegotiating with other people of who his clientele wanted to be. It was no longer the same people. It was someone new. And therefore his marketing strategies, he was going back to the drawing board. So I want to say that you can pull back if you need to stop. Okay. It's in Gemini. So we're going to be very wary of how words are used, how we use our own words, because Gemini is a sign of communication. And if we look for the past couple of weeks since Mars went retrograde October 30th, this whole thing about in the world, the false narrative. Okay, how people are using words. Are people using words, to communicate the truth? We're seeing it globally, we're seeing it nationally, we're seeing politically. What's on the table is we're trying to sort out and tease apart what's true, where we're feeling angry, and how words can best represent what we're trying to do. There's a bit of a mishigas going on, but this is part of it. We're disentangling ourselves, right? So I just want to say that out in the world, we're seeing it also too in terms of war. If we're looking at war, the Ukraine and Russia, are we fighting just for fighting's sake? Or are we fighting to protect or defend what we love? That's Mars. That's Mars. We got it. I know people say, well, no war, but hey, listen, Mars is war. We need to use this if we're protecting and defending something very dear to ourselves. And then if we do it in a not so great way, we backtrack and we try again. So, we're going to make mistakes, but please, it's better we make mistakes instead of just repeating the pattern. And what's that saying? Insanity, and this is a good Mars retrograde quote, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's Mars retrograde, and that's what we're looking at. So is everybody ready for their sign interpretation of what sign? Yes?
Definitely.
Okay. I guess that's it.
I think everyone's been waiting. Everyone can't, they can't wait to get to hear the forecast.
All right. So here we go with the forecast. So remember, I just want to reiterate, we go back to that September 3rd, whatever sign you are, see what's getting set up, see what the theme is. The 30th of October was the time it actually went retrograde. It might have been more heated for you. Take a look. We're going to pay attention to December 7th on that full moon, all of us, and see what's brought to light, see what we're looking at, see what's illuminated, right? The 12th, Mars is going to go direct. That means whatever we have learned has come to light. We're ready to go. And we're going to slowly move forward with this until March 15th. Doesn't mean you can't go ahead. It's just that you've grown. You've learned how to apply your Mars. And that's the application period. So we're going to start with the sign of Aries. Now, if you know your chart, and your Aries rising also, this is going to apply to you. So I'm going to say Aries and I'm going to say Aries rising. Okay, guys, get your pens out or make a mental note. Very interesting for Aries. There can be, for the Aries, challenging interaction with siblings, with neighbors, with the way you communicate with your immediate circle, cousins. Also, too, it's going to ask the Aries, in particular to set some boundaries when it comes to communicating with these types of littermates. The other thing is, if there's a class, Aries rising, that you've been thinking of taking and that you haven't, there's a return to go and review this. All right, so Aries, go and review this. Take some backward action. Go pull out the curriculum or the course guide. This is the time for you to do it. Okay, that's Aries. Makes sense, everybody? Any questions? We got a little kitty cat who wants her fortune told also. All right, so Aries, we know about the class. We know about how we're going to communicate. We know about the peer, our littermates, what we're going to be doing with the boundaries. Also, to something off the top, Aries and Aries rising, just double check the car, the mechanics of the car, okay? If there are any issues with your car, this might be time period where you need to go and get that fixed. Taurus or Taurus rising. Okay, what's going to be affected is the area of life that has to do with your monies, your balance, values, your talents, how you earn a living. And because it is money and because it is finances, one of the questions that can come up might be is, are you underpaid? Are you underappreciated? Are you undervalued for your contributions in terms of how you're earning a living? So some decisions around this might need to be revisited. Being motivated to make some sort of change regarding of your value, your self-worth, and literally what you're being paid. And this also can apply if you're not working. How do you do the finances at home? This might be the time. Go back, take a look. Mars wants you to be assertive, wants you to get on top of things. So this is the time. It's really, really highlighted for the finances. Geminis, okay? I know we have a taker in the audience. Geminis, this is up close and personal for you, Geminis. What you can find is, this is self-assertion, reassessing how you put yourself out in terms of relationships, in terms of your world, how you interact with others. Are you, I guess want to say, assessing how much energy you need to put in relationships. Oh, there's some relationships you don't want to put energy into. Remember, this is Mars retrograde. We're looking at, am I getting exhausted from some of the ways I'm relating with certain people and I need to pull back my energy? So for you, it's up close and personal, and it's going to be about how you interact with others and how much energy is needed to even maintain relationship. Now, if you are feeling motivated, Gemini, if you are feeling motivated, we need to take a look at the former you. The former you might no longer be sustainable. It's time for like a new you, almost like you're reinventing yourself. And I wouldn't be surprised, because this has to do with self-identity, if there might be a change in physical appearance. You might be like, no, this represents me more. I want to grow my hair longer, or I want another tattoo. But I just want to say that for Gemini, since it so much has to do with the identity, that could be one of the noticeable changes the Gemini or Gemini rising makes. Cancer, who was telling me, did somebody want to know? Oh, it was Pisces. Cancer. Okay, let me say something about Cancer. If we have any Cancerians in the audience, Cancer or Cancer rising, a lot's going on underneath the hood. A lot's going on underneath the hood. Mars retrograde is taking place in the very private sector of your chart. So it might not be as noticeable as, say, a Gemini or an Aries. Pay attention to your dreams, all right? Because it's taking place in an area where it's more subconscious. Pay attention to your dreams. You wake up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden you have those thoughts. Cancer, let's take a look at that, because that's what is being ignited for you. Also, too, buried anger, because it's in such a private sector. Once again, we're going to look at where anger is buried. It might like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I was angry about this. Good, let it come up. Let's take a look at it because it's private. So we're taking time to, Cancer is taking time to re-examine these issues. You might not be so forthright in terms of where you stand or what the position you take. That's okay. You're figuring it out, and then you'll be able to bring it to the table. Leo or Leo rising. Okay, when it comes to aspirations, your future goals, your dreams, here's where you're reassessing. Any Leo rising, reassessing of what your vision. What's the matter? Sorry.
No, I'm a Leo rising. And are
Me
you
too. You notice all the cats in my life?
Yep. I never thought about it. Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this just started a few years ago. But it's the
Well,
second revolution, right? So I'm now like, if you forwarded my chart, I would
You have your Mars return. So your Mars went 2 times around. It's back to its natal place, and this started 2 years ago.
They said I'm now in Saturn's return. It's now every 26 years that you move. Like,
And being 26, you know what to expect,
Right. Exactly.
right?
well, no, they say it goes from
Oh, I-
it moves up a thing so that you're more like, well, I'm more like a Leo. Progressed chart. That's it.
Oh, so your progress chart.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, because you're growing, you're progressing, you're again evolving. So okay, so Leo rising, we're reassessing our aspirations, right? We're making edits to the plans. What we wanted to aspire to, we might need to go back and rework. That's okay. Go back and rework. Colleagues, networking, association, these people that share our values. There might be some bumps. There might be a little bit of heated conversations with these people. But again, it's just to resolve and to kind of get straight who you want to align with and who also too supports your values and supports your aspirations in terms of going forward. For the Leo rising or the Leo itself, since it has to do with groups of people, you're looking at who helps you further your dreams. I guess that's the best way of saying it. If there are any old friendships that come up where there are unresolved issues, then this is the time we're looking at that. So makes sense for the Leo. We got that. This is what we're going to do. Makes sense. Leo's out there, Leo rising. Okay, so that's the keynote here. Virgo or Virgo ascendant. Now, Virgo, this is going to have to do with your career. One place, career. What's your motivation for working? Is your profession your vocation? Is your profession your calling? Here's what we're looking at right now. Does it really answer to how you want to be seen on the world stage in terms of what you contribute? So these questions, career, profession, vocation, not just a day-to-day job, but in terms of, is this you're reassessing, or are you just going through the motions? That's what's going to come up. You can find you need to refocus or to re-edit projects, okay, work-wise. This is for the Virgo ascendant. Also, since it's in the area of your bosses or your superiors, yeah, there can be some heated words. We got the Mars and Gemini. Gemini's words. Mars is they're really, getting things fired or triggered. You might have some words with your boss or supervisor. Is that bad? No. And arguing is never a bad thing, but just make sure, you're really speaking what you need to speak to or what you need to address in terms of your supervisor, so you can get to where you want to go with your position. So again, for the Virgo ascendant, no second guessing. I think that's what I want to say. It's reassessing. This is about reassessing for the Virgo ascendant. Libra ascendant. Okay. You're going back to the drawing board. You're going to be looking at, number one, if there was an area of interest that you wanted to pursue that would broaden your horizons. It could be a trip, right? Travel, education. It could even be religion or a philosophical course of study. Now is the time you're going back to the drawing board. You're really looking at your outlook in life. Okay, does my outlook really represent who I am now? Are you participating in your own story? Are you doing what you want to do? And is this really who you are and represent your experience and your personal philosophy of life? If any Libra or Libra rising has a legal matter, now you're going back to the drawing board. So we're looking at that legal matter too. Don't worry if there are some stops and starts with this. What I would say to you is, let's see what happens after the 12th. Now you're going back and you're finding also to out other people's motives regarding legal matters. Scorpio, Mars is your co-ruler. So you're Scorpio?
Of course I am.
Oh, that's so good. Well, you know, are you like, you're a Halloween baby? Are you around Halloween?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's actually that was my due date, but like, you know, everything else in life, I was late. So it's November 5th. So yeah,
Okay.
so I'm right in there.
Well, as you might know, Scorpio, or the planet that rules Scorpio, Pluto, that is a sign of mediumship. Remember,
Yes.
Scorpio and Pluto, its real Pluto has to do with anything of the underworld, anything that's unseen, that's felt. It's actually archaeology where one digs. It's the psychologist, the psychiatrist, the medium that's getting way deep down. Nothing surfacey for a Scorpio. They want to know it's got to be real. It's got to be intense. You know, and you guys can go to that place very easily because that's part of you too. But anyway, so Scorpio, this is important. Now, I want to say a couple of things here. I am going to talk about monies. When it comes to joint finances, joint resources, monies outside of a paycheck or any monies that you're earning, a second look is going to be needed here, even in terms of investment. So any monies you're bringing in from your practice, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a revised plan of how you're going to do it, what you're going to claim, how much, you know, the whole thing. But it's not money's accounting money. This is money where, okay, I'm going to claim this. There's a write-off here. I got to go back and revise how I do this money thing when it comes to what I'm bringing in, but it's not just monies from an outside paycheck. So also to shared finances. So any Scorpio that is married, we're also, or in a partnership, if you're in a business partnership, we're looking at those joint finances, how we're doing this. What are we doing here? It's affecting your house of mergers. So this also too means intimate relationships. If you're in a committed relationship, we're looking at the issue of intimacy. How intimate do we want to be with this person? How close can we be with this person? Is it a time period, if I'm in a dating situation, where we need to bring it closer together? Or if I'm in a marriage or a committed relationship, there might be some walls that need to be disassembled, because this is where it's affecting is how intimate you can be with another person. How real can we get with other people and with a partner in general? Okay, so Sagittarius, we have any Sagittarians in the house? Also too interesting. This is your, it's affecting your relationships, right? Not as deep as the Scorpio, but business partnerships, even in terms of forming partnerships. If you're in a situation where you're forming a business partnership, you're thinking about it, you're forming it, it might lag. It might not get off as quickly as possible. If you're a Sag or a Sagittarius rising, I'm not concerned about it. Slow and steady wins the race. What's really going on here with any type of business dealing is you're reassessing and you're taking a step back. And as I said about Rick Levine's analogy about the bow being pulled back, you're still in the process of where you want to aim with this, with a business partner, with a business direction. So your interaction with significant others, there might, or if you're dating, might be a little bit slowed down. But again, you're aiming, you're thinking, okay, you're taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And for the Sag rising, the question comes up is, how much do I need to assert myself? Am I asserting myself too much in a relationship and I'm doing the whole relationship? Remember Mars, action, let's go, go, go. Or am I not asserting myself enough and I feel like my needs are not getting met? So that there's our balance right there with the Sag. Capricorn, do we have any Capricorns in the house? Yeah. Hi, oh yes, we love the Capricorns. All right, let me say this, Miss Capricorn. One thing I do want to say is it is the area of life that has to do with the health. So you're going to be going back until about January 12th and reassessing health regimes, meaning it could be any type of herbs you're taking, vitamins, medication. There might be a change in some type of healthcare regime. You might be adding an herb, you might be adding a medication, you might be taking away. So what's being sorted out here is, well, what's really happening is Mars is asking you to get your body up and running, optimal level, through sifting through what you're doing to make it as strong as possible. Okay, so look at it that way. Adding medication, taking medication away. If there is an inflammation in the body for Capricorn, a Capricorn ascendant, and you know, Capricorn does rule the bones, okay, all of that, that can flare up, not for punishment, but to look at, we're looking at, okay, how can I best work with this? Is it a chiropractor? Is it, you know, someone that does deep tissue massage? The other things for the Capricorn rising is your day job or just your daily routine. So your day job, your responsibilities on your day job, are you taking too much on? Is there too much just being piled up that's going to need to be sorted out? Or just the way you organize your daily routine is being reworked. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. No, maybe it's best I get up at 6. So just the day-to-day routine in order really to support the smooth running of your life and also to the physical body. Okay, Aquarius, we're almost near the end. Aquarius does rule the sign of astrology, by the way. And Aquarians tend to like astrology. I found that. Okay, Aquarians, here we go. If any of you have children, okay, this is some area, your relationship with the child. How are you able to best communicate what you need from the relationship with your children? What are you communicating to your child if they're really, really young to best enhance how you can get them to do what you want them to do? And I don't want to say manipulate, but you understand, we're looking at the communication. What's the dynamic between you and your child? Even if they're grown, if you're in a situation and they're grown up, well, what's on board here? What are we talking about here? There might be more room for discussions with children at this time for Aquarius or Aquarius ascendant. Also too, Aquarius, I know you guys like just love to find out about things. If you are involved in any creative pursuits, especially with a group or an organization, here's the time where you're going to be backtracking and finding a creative pursuit that really is satisfying. Meaning, any Aquarians out there that are artists and you've been kind of maybe shuffling your feet or moving along and you really want to express being artistically creative. Now's the time where you really might feel a sense of dissatisfaction if you're not being creative enough. Okay, makes sense, because creatively you're being asked to kind of put your money where your mouth is in terms of how you best express on an artistic level, on a creative level. That's important. If any of you are romantically involved, you're reassessing the romance too. Not that it's bad, but you're going back. One of the questions you might be asking yourself is there enough fire? We're talking Mars. Is there enough passion here? And then if there is, great. If not, then what are you going to be doing about it to get more life into it? That's the time. Maybe you need to go to the theater more. Maybe you need to, I don't know, gossip about other people. I don't know. It's Gemini. But this is what you're asked to take a good look at when it comes to your romantic life. If there are difficulties with children, remember, best to strategize rather than to push forward or fight. And this goes for all of us. Here we go with Pisces or Pisces ascendant. First of all, this is for Pisces, last sign of the zodiac. Keep in mind that the area of life that's very affected here is the home. Home, family, biological roots, psychological roots, the physical home. There can be literally a restructuring in the home. I've seen this happen before where the Mars is going retrograde throughout the fourth house and the people are tearing down walls. That might be one of the areas on a physical level you're rebuilding or you're thinking of changing around the physical home. The other thing you can find during this time, since family relations are very highlighted for the Pisces or Pisces rising, revisiting old emotional issues with family members. You could also, and it is the holiday season, be reconnecting with family members you haven't seen for a while, which is fine. Again, let's keep in mind it's Mars retrograde. If you feel triggered, we don't want to fight, but it's good to acknowledge this because you're reassessing and regrouping, in a sense, your family relations. The purpose of this is for an improved family life. So you know how it is with families. We have buried anger. We want to get along with people. Sometimes we don't say things, and then we have these family gatherings and, everything's on the table. But for Pisces rising, I'm looking at the physical home. We're looking at family relationships. And also, too, it could be in a psychological sense. We go back to the past and we're looking at how maybe family dynamics have affected us. So basically, to sum it up with the Mars retrograde, if something is showing up that's not working, we don't want to plow forward because we're going to get snagged, right? We're going to take a step back. We're going to strategize. We're going to be honest with what we're feeling, where it's coming from, and then reposition ourselves, knowing that we're aiming to really where we want to go. Any questions? Ta-da.
Wow, that was a lot. Good job. I want to give you a round of applause. That was amazing.
Denise, that was fantastic, sweetheart. You blew me away again after hearing your tarot talk with the eyes of learning. Now, Denise, if any of our viewers would like to contact you to get a personal reading, because I love getting an annual astrological reading myself. And you, of course, would go into full depth about other aspects besides Mars. How can they contact you, sweetheart?
Okay, two ways. I'm presently, because Mars is retrograde and it is affecting my houses having to do with work, I am just reorganizing my website. So that being said, the best way to reach me is through my phone number, which is, I can give it 718-747-5241. I'll return the call within 24 hours, or here is my email.
So folks, if you're out of the continental United States, please reach her through her email. If you're within the continental United States, feel free calling her on her office phone. So what is the email? And I'm putting them in the chat room.
Thank you. It's Denise, Denise Jordan, Jordan, 7@yahoo.com. And if somebody feels compelled to send me a smoke signal, go for it.
The other thing I'll mention, just like Mari and I offer gift certificates, a gift certificate for someone that you care about for a astrological reading is a fantastic gift, and I'm sure you provide those.
Yes, already they're coming in for 2023. Yes.
Yeah, so that would also. We're just running over a little bit, and but before we go, we want to thank you from the bottom of our heart for coming on and giving us all this interesting information. I took lots of notes.
Book.
Me too.
And I wanted both Mari and I just want to kind of give a rundown of any upcoming events and classes, etc. So Mari, do you have anything coming up?
Well, the first thing I wanted to mention is, first of all, thank you, Denise. You are amazing. It was such a wonderful talk. You're a wealth of information, and hopefully everybody that was looking for their signs caught on. If not, you can watch the replay, of course. I have a couple different things that are coming up, but the first thing I wanted to mention is our next spirit chat is going to be the Angel Hour, and it's going to be December 12th at 3:00. And my dear friend Maura O'Leary is going to be on. They call her the Angel Lady. She's an angel expert, angel intuitive. And she also wrote the book When Angels Play Poker. It's on Amazon. And I know she's got a couple more volumes of that coming up, and she's amazing. So if you have any interest in angels or connecting with your angels, please tune in December 12th, 3:00. Same thing, YouTube, Facebook, and Zoom.
And that's
our
Monday.
next. That's a Monday. Yes, that's a Monday, December 12th, 3:00. And for me, I'm going to be on the Voice America radio show, Sovereign Self. I think that's going to be December 19th at 7:00. Not totally sure of the time on that, but I will post that on my website and on my Facebook page. And then starting in the new year, I'm going to be on the Psychic Hour with Kelly Burkell, which is January 24th, and planning on offering some intro classes, intro to animal communication, intro to intuitive learning in the upcoming new year. So stay tuned for that. And Winter, what do you have coming up? I know you always have like a million things coming up. I don't know how you do so much stuff.
She's a Gemini. She's a Gemini.
I guess that's why, yeah, I can only handle so much.
Yeah, no, it's my Gemini workaholic nature, which of course runs contrary to doing metaphysical work, but
Right,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
So next week, I am interviewing on Zoom Sue Barnes, who is a certified medium from the Arthur Findlay College and the SNU, and a Lilydale medium. She's also written books on physical mediumship. She is organizing the physical mediumship in Victorian times that's going to be held at the Physical Mediumship Symposium in June up in Lilydale. I encourage you guys to take advantage. There's going to be 3 world-class physical mediums at that event, and then 5 of us, myself, Sue, Julie Andrini, and then the 2 ladies, Karen Richards and Inga Crossan from Australia, will be tutors. You're not able to take physical mediumship classes or retreats very often. So this is a biggie, and it's going to be at Lilydale, and I'm going to be talking at length about it with Sue on Zoom next Wednesday, Pearl Harbor, and expecting this aha moment. Maybe it'll happen during that broadcast. The week after, I'm going to be talking to Joanne Wolf, another astrologer friend of mine, and she's going to kind of give an overview of 2023, and that will be streamed. And she'll be more generalized than the talk that we were blessed to have today with Denise. In the middle of January, around the 19th, I believe, Thursday evenings from 7 to 9, 8-class series on trance mediumship. I teach trance. It's generally the people take it, their response is more. And we will be covering channeling the higher self, trance speaking, trance healing. I'm going to be doing past lives with the state of trance, which will, for those of you practicing, maybe give you a reading some new depth and new areas to incorporate. What else? And I think that's about it for now. There'll be, I'm sorry, January the 23rd, I'm doing a talk on physical mediumship for the Amityville Public Library. And I'll do some readings at the end of the talk, but I'm going to go over what it is. I have photographs of me sitting in transfiguration, other mediums doing transfig, ectoplasm. So whatever you wanted to know about physical mediumship, I'm going to be pretty much talking about it. And that's a free event as well. But you do need to register with the Amityville Public Library. Go on to my website, winterbrookmedium.com. I have a calendar and I have everything but the spirit chat, which I'm going to add as soon as we hang up because I forgot to put that into the calendar.
Yeah.
When
I'm with you.
had the show
I can't
planned,
keep up with everything.
I'm
I
like,
don't know.
I was balancing 2 calendars until now. So
I feel you.
anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in today and also watching the recording if you're doing that. I wish you all, I'll see you before the Christmas, but I wish you a happy Hanukkah. I think that happens before our next show, and any of the other blessed holidays.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, and definitely tune
you,
into the Angel
everybody.
Hour. Yes,
Thank
you
you.
for
Yes.
coming, Denise.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you for asking me. This was fun. Thanks,
It
everybody.
was great. You were
Thanks.
amazing.
You were.
So are you. So are you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.